New video 26, I think. Okay, today I'm going to put the oil pump on, tighten up the tensioner. I had to get some new washers to put that on. Last week I was supposed to get a micrometer set to mic the connecting rod journals for the new rod bushings, and didn't get one for my buddy. Kept forgetting that he lives out in the county, and I ended up buying one at Harbor Freight, and brought it home and measured it, but it was just a cheap micrometer. And I'll show you on this one. I'm just going to turn in the little marking lines on the indicator were out. Like, it was showing for each line is 25 thou. It was showing two lines in half again, and then you count you add the number on the dial here for the difference. Well, it was out like 25 thou. So I kind of compensated for that, the amount it was out, and I figured that the journals were out by a little less than a thou, like 9/10 thousandths of a thou or something like that. So I know they're out, but we're really close with the plastic gauge. What did I say? I'm still half asleep and I'm all beat up from playing hockey all weekend. Can't think too clearly. But anyways, I got a new journal here. I got a new micrometer set on Kijiji, and it's actually a really good deal. This is a Moore and Wright, made in England, Sheffield, England, micrometer set. It does from 1 inch to 6 inches, and it's out of one of the chemical plants here in Sarnia that closed down, and I got it for $40. That's pretty cheap. I think that's a couple $100 micrometer set right there. Anyways, I'm gonna get back at this here in a few minutes, and I'll let you know. 50 degrees in here today. More leaves on the ground. It's gonna get worse. Little dog trying to get into trouble. Hey, quit eating that styrofoam. Get out of there. Corn and things. Okay. Okay. Got the cylinders ready to go. I lightly honed them with a real fine hone. I don't even like to do that. I'm going to put a link at the bottom under the comments there, that whenever if the cylinders aren't worn out and there's no big grooves in it and the clearances are good, most people aren't going to believe me, never re-hone them or deglaze them. You don't have to do that. I'm going to put a link down there, and you're not going to believe it, but everybody deglazes them, everybody puts in new rings, then it's got to re-break in and reseat in again, and you get more wear. No, there's a couple engineers that have done this. Czechoslovakia and Russia have done this for 50 years. They've never deglazed these rings. They put in a new set because you got a nice polished finish. You know, that's what you want, a nice polished finish, a good seal, and it's hard to believe, but read the article below. But anyways, this the clearances on this Norton are like 3 to 5 thou, and I don't have an inside bore micrometer. Actually, I've got one on order, and you know, you measure down about a ½ inch from the top, and you want to measure the widest part of the piston, which is the skirt right here, up about 3/4 of an inch or ½ inch, and that's the widest part of your piston. Your piston's tapered, so you want to follow that through the bore. And if you don't have that, if you got these real long feeler gauges, this is a 3 thou one here, and you lay it in the bore. And you know, you don't measure on the pin side, you're going to measure on the width side here. So I always put the feeler gauge in first, and normally I do this in the bottom, but let's see if it's going this way. And this is a 3 thou gauge, and it's a snug fit there, and you can kind of check it in a couple different places. I don't have a 4 thou gauge, and I'm thinking it's closer to 4, 3.5 to 4 thou. I got a 5 thou gauge, and I can't get it in there. It's snug right in there. So I believe it's about 3.5 to 4 thou. You're allowed 5 thou. My dog's going nuts over there. And there's another way you can check this, which I never heard of before, that says that the Brits do. Hey, dog, you're making a lot of noise. Get over there. Oh my God, that dog. You put the compression ring in the bore, 1/2 inch down from the top, and measure the ring end gap, and then measure it as you're going down through the stroke position, which is going to be about 3 inches. So you take the narrowest point, which is going to be near the top, and then you take the widest point at the bottom. So let's say you're getting a 10 thou gap at the top and a 16 thou gap at the bottom. So you got 6 thou there difference. You divide that by 3, 2 thou. That's your piston. Your piston clearance is going to be about 2 thou. I never heard of that before, but that's how they claim you can measure the gap in these things. So that's one example. I got a new set of piston rings here. We're going to measure the end gap in. God, leave me alone. Holy smokes. Okay, ring end gap. Ah! Dog's biting my foot. Where am I here? Okay. Set the ring in the bore without breaking it. Push it in there carefully. And then you use the piston to get it nice and square in the bore. Just push it down. And you want to get it into the highest wear part of the bore, or check it in 2 or 3 different positions. Ah, dog, jeez, dog. I'm biting my toe. And the specs are, hold this camera, this is the hard part, I don't have a proper camera thing. There's the gap right there, and the specs are 8 to 12 thou. And so I kind of checked this before I got it on video here. Oh, now I just lost my 10 thou gauge. Where's your 10 thou? Okay, see if I can film this. But you just want to slide this through there, and it fits right through there. If you can see that or not. But the 11th thou is tight. It starts to push the ring down out of position. So that's kind of bang on the money right in the middle there. 10 thou. Like I say, the cylinders didn't have a lot of wear in it. You can't feel any ridges or bumps or anything. But I did have to deglaze it because there was some surface rust pitting. Previous to me, like I put it away with oil in it, but when I took it apart, you know, there was some rust in areas. So I did deglaze it as much as I didn't want to. So next step is to install the pistons. And I'm still debating about whether using those wrist pin clips. I'm going to put them in and see how they fit. So I put one of the wrist pins, the new wrist pins, in the piston. I thought it was going to feel really loose in there because it measures 5 thou thinner than the original ones, but man, I don't feel any, jeez, that dog's going to be crazy today. I don't feel any looseness in it at all. I think I might go with those. I thought for sure that was rattling around in there, but it's got a nice snug tight fit. And I don't know, that's what they're selling online, so Norton bits, so I'm going to trust them. Put that in there for now. Okay. put the timing chain tensioner back in, and I did look it up. There is two types. The original one didn't come with that rubber slipper in there, at least not for 69, 70, 71. And I guess there's a newer one with a little rubber slipper on the tensioner that makes the chain run a little quieter. You know, it's not as noisy an engine. And so, and there is a locking washer, like a star locking washer on the tensioner. And what you want is about 1/8 of an inch play at the tightest position of the crank. So I'm going to snug it up there and then rotate it and see if I can find a tight spot in it. Whoa. That's about 1/8 of an inch there. I'm not going to tighten it up right tight. What do we got here? That's 1/8 of an inch. So, as I turn this over, seems a little looser there. When you're setting your drive chain too, you always set it, roll the back wheel around, and look for the tightest, like there, that's a little tighter there. Look for the tightest spot to adjust it. See, it's tightened up there a little bit. Still got about 1/8 of an inch, but you can feel that it's getting tighter there. And this being a brand new chain, it's going to loosen up a little bit. I'm going to be good with that. Couldn't find a torque spec for those, but that's the same size thread as the oil pump, and the oil pump is 15 pounds on 1972 or prior Nortons, so I'm going to set these at 15. They have a locking washer, so there's 15 there. There's 15 there. The oil pump bolts or nuts, you don't use a washer in them, it says no washer, and you torque them to 15 pounds. Okay. You want to snug them up evenly, go back and forth a little bit. Don't want to torque in one side then the other. Should be ready now. There's 15, maybe a hair more. Okay. I think that side's done. Next is pistons and rings. I forgot to mention, before I put the oil pump on, I put the new gasket in, and you just want to make sure that the 3 holes are lined up in the correct orientation. and you do not put any silicone or sealant on that gasket at all.